Hello, today I will show you how we can configure the DHCP server. So in today's video, I will show you that how we can have a local DHCP server. So for the local DHCP server, the server and the computers or end devices, they are connected to the same switch. So I will bring one server, then I will connect this server and the computers to the local so I will connect the devices to the local switch. So let me make connections here, and from this computer to switch again, and then from server to switch. Okay, let us assume that we are using network which is 192.168 maybe 1.0/24. This is my network ID. So let me allocate one IP address to my DHCP server. So my DHCP server must have one IP address within that range. Let us say I want to allocate IP address of 192.168.1.5. Okay, at the moment default gateway, let's say in future we will have a router and the default gateway will be, let's say 192.168.1.1. That's all I need to configure the IP address to the DHCP server. Now, let us say these two computers, they need to get dynamic IP address from this DHCP server. So now I have to configure the DHCP server. Okay, for that purpose, I have to click on services. I have to click on the DHCP. Okay, remember by default, the DHCP server has got a default pool. Either you can use the same pool or you can modify it. For example, I will modify it, let us say a pool of maybe net work 10. I'm just giving the name network 10. What is default gateway? Now in this case, this is the default gateway for those computers. So in this case, because all these computers and the server, they belong to the same network, so basically they will have the same default gateway, which is 192.168.1.1. Now what is DNS server? Now DNS server, which is used to resolve the URL to the IP addresses, which I will teach you in coming videos. Now DNS server can be anywhere. It's not necessarily that DNS server can be within the same network. Let's say assume here the DNS server can be somewhere in the internet, let us say, which is in 200 dot maybe 100.50.10. Let us say this is my DNS server somewhere. Starting IP addresses. Now this is very important. Now here you can see the starting IP addresses just indicate the network ID, but it should not be network ID. Now in a real networking, what we do, we leave few IP addresses which are statically allocated to critical devices. So those critical devices can be default gateway of the router. It could be any type of servers, like in this case we have got DHCP server, a printer, IP camera, and any those type of devices which require fixed IP addresses we allocate statically. For example, in this case, I will assume that first 10 IP addresses I have to reserve for the static allocation. So dynamically I will start from number 11. So my first 10 IP addresses are reserved. Now, so this is a server mask, it already been there by default, but if this server mask is different, then I have to change it. Maximum number of users, that depends upon your design. For example, in this case, it will pick up the maximum the subnet mask, but anyway, In this case, let us say I will say I need only maximum of 3. Okay. Now I will say I want to add it. So I have added a new pool which has got these properties. Now the last thing, service, is it off or on? So I must make it on. Okay, let us say at the moment I won't make it on. I will leave it off. Okay. Now if I go to these computers on the desktop, IP addresses, and because we are going to use dynamic IP addresses for DHCP server, click on the DHCP. Okay. Now then close it. Now what happens? Because now it has pick up link local address, and which is by default allocated by the window computers. So these are 169.254. Because why? Because DHCP failed. Why this failed? Because I haven't enabled DHCP service. So go back to the DHCP service and make it enable. Okay, now close it. Let's go to this device again. Open up, go to static, and then refresh it. Now you can see it has picked up the first IP address. Now why this has picked up the first IP address? Because it has picked up from the default pool. Now I haven't removed the default pool from here, which was the default pool. So let me go to the DHCP server and go to this particular pool and remove all these entries. I won't give any of these one. Save. Now invalid. So in this case, what I have to do? I have to use my server pool as my original one. So I can change this name of the server pool. I can make it as network, maybe network 20. So I will give the same properties here, and which is starting from number 11, and default gateway, which I have allocated before, 192.168.1.1. and remember I allocated the server DNS server, which is 200.100.50.10. Now what I will do, I will click on save. So here let us move back to number maybe 2 only, maximum 2. So I will say save. Okay, server pool cannot be modified or deleted now. So we can't. So in that case, the only option I have, that I have to change the default settings on the server pool. Then I have to remove these 2 pools. Okay, remove that one and remove that one. So this is the troubleshooting which you have to learn, that okay, because the server pool, the by default it has to be there. So then if I got only single pool, then I have to adjust the settings here. So default gateway is 192.168.1.1 and DNS server 200.100.50.10. Okay, my starting IP address must be from number 11, and I want to allocate only maximum of 2 addresses. Okay, now then I will save it. Now I have saved this one. Now let us now go back to our computer. Okay, static, go back to DHCP, requesting IP address. Now you will see that it has received all this information from the DHCP server according to the pool. Like our starting IP address is from 192.168.1.11 and also got DNS server. Okay, all right. Now let's go to my second computer, desktop, DHCP. It has received my second IP address. Now let me attach one more computer here. Okay, one more computer, then attach this one to switch. Okay, fast forward time. Now let me bring it here. Okay, now let us see what happens. In this case, in this computer, if I want to allocate DHCP IP address, what happens? Requesting failed. Why this failed? The reason is because I have specified the maximum allocation of IP addresses in my DHCP server to maximum of 2. That's why it has already allocated the 2 IP addresses. Now it won't allocate the third one. But if I would change it to, let us say, 5 now, and then save it, okay, done. And now I will go back to this computer and then refresh my DHCP settings. Now it will get the third IP address. So this is how DHCP work. Now keep on watching my videos. I will show you now in my next video that how we can have the DHCP server on the remote network, and then in that case I will explain the theory behind it, that how the DHCP server will actually behave when it is a remote it is connected to the remote network, because then settings become totally different. And then we have to also configure relay agents on our routers, which I will explain in the next video. Okay, enjoy it. Have a nice day.